right, so kind of talking about the whole point of this study and why it was ethically wrong and why there's so much controversy surrounding it. So the researchers never obtained something super important, and if you're writing notes, this is kind of the main thing, is they never obtained informed consent. So they never obtained the permission of the black men that were injected with syphilis on the terms of they didn't know what was being injected in them, they didn't know what was wrong with them, and when the doctors would give them treatments, they would give them things like placebos or prevent new things like penicillin that was being developed at the time that would cure syphilis. They would prevent the black men from getting it. Just wanted to see, even though there was a cure that was coming out, they still wanted to continue the study and see the end of it and see how black men would be impacted by the study. So this is kind of an example ad that was popular at the time, specifically even targeted to attack syphilis. It's not just penicillin in general. So this was a wide idea at the time that penicillin could help syphilis, but still the study continued. The wives and the children of the men were often infected with syphilis because it passed down. And doctors, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, justified the study saying that black and white people were impacted by disease differently. This is not true at all, but they were saying that this was true in order to continue to push the study and just see how inhumane experimentation on communities of color could impact black Americans in the South. Kind of for the final slide in terms of notes, Tuskegee study's impact and legacy. So the reason that the study stopped in the first place was not because the government was like, this is ethically wrong, we should stop it. It was because there was a whistleblower within the Public Health Service, Peter Buxton, who learned about the study and sent a letter to the CDC, the Disease Control Center, and then the study was shut down. Once it actually came out into the public that something like this was happening, there was a newspaper story kind of released that infuriated the public because it's racist and it was inhumane experimentation. And at the time, this is World War II, so what the Nazis are doing overseas, a lot of that was being compared to this, and there was a lot of public outcry against that. Specifically, Fred Gray, who I have here, he received the Medal of Honor, I think, this summer, actually, 2022, but he filed a lawsuit against the Public Health Service. Each person was granted cash in an out-of-court settlement. They ruled that the participants had the right to know and they didn't know, and that they were not being treated by the doctors. Sadly, at the end, though, up to 100 of the men will die from syphilis or suffer from complications including suffering from insanity, leading to blindness, things like that. Because syphilis would go into the brain untreated late stages. It would be a devastating impact for them. But the big positive that came from the Tuskegee study was the National Research Act. It was created in 1974, so 2 years after the study ended. And it kind of just obtained rules and outlines for experimenting with humans.
When did Peter Buxton send the letters?
This was 1972, so 1972 he sends the letters, the newspaper story comes out because he's working in tandem with a newspaper journalist. So he kind of sends the letter and then tells them, and then they release an expose on what's going on, and then very quickly turn around. Because of the public outcry was so strong, this is shut down.
And Fred Gray?
Fred Gray is the lawyer.
No, when did that happen?
Oh, this is all the same year, so all 1972, 1973, yeah. And the National Research Act was 1974, which was a couple years behind, but it's all within those couple years of the early 70s.